Maybe you should. No, I've got to get pizzas to that observatory over there. And so you get attacked by some like smoke monster, and you like the pizzas fall off, and you're like scrambling around. Like, oh no, somebody
Smoke
needs
monster.
the pepperoni.
So I'm swimming through 30 weight motor oil.
Why are these new additions to your game that your intention was to release this fall? What are you doing?
Their primary focus should be surviving litigation.
Someone take his phone. I'll do it. Just give me a key card and a red button that turns off Randy's Wi-Fi.
It pisses me off that they lump racing in with sports. Then you look at this insert F-bomb, Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F125.
An aimless rant. We were just angry.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
What's up, everybody? We are live. It is another episode of the Hardcore Casual Broadcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast fame.
Yes.
And I am Mason of Online Infamy, and we are the conversation at the Game Studio Graveyard behind you. Man, the dichotomy between last week's episode and topics and this week's episode and topics, wow, it's staggering. It's staggering.
Yeah, and I told you, like I'm not feeling that great today, and it just makes it worse. Anytime I get bad news on a day where I'm already not feeling well, I'm a naturally optimistic person. But this is the only version of me where I'm just like, I'll just lean into bat and just make it worse, type of deal. And it just happens, man. I don't know what to say.
Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to be positive, and man, sometimes in the face of overwhelmingly negative news, it's hard to find the silver lining.
It is.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we're all feeling run down this week, and like so many people just got some bad news. And a lot of this, I guess we'll just kind of go into it, is not officially confirmed. I mean, it's all basically, it's known, it's open secret, everybody's talking about it, but Xbox has not officially confirmed explicitly these different things. But basically, the long and short of it is, we had the showcase last week and the weekend prior for Xbox and Sony and Summer Games Fest and all of this stuff, and Xbox had actually an incredible show. They did great. It was exciting. They had so many interesting games. They did a great job, and you and I were very complimentary of it, which we have been very critical of Xbox in the past. And we sang their praises last week. And then I think it might have even been immediately once I got back downstairs after the show, and that I started seeing rumors of the news. And it was kind of like, well, joke's on me for praising Xbox, for believing that something had, because I think we might have even said last week that it was always a thing where they would do something positive and we would praise them, and then they would do something negative, and it was so good to just see just positive news, and then they did the negative thing.
Yeah, and you did say that last week. My only upside, if you even want to call it that, is those things that we talked about last week. A, they're still going on, and B, those are still reasons to be optimistic. I do think the two stories are related. I'm not trying to separate one for the other, because here's the thing: I don't think you can have one without the other from a business standpoint. When you hear the staggering amount of financial loss that they had as a business, I'm not going to say it makes sense, because I hate seeing people lose their jobs. I really do, especially talented people. I mean, we had to see it coming. We didn't see it last week because we still had the glaze on from all the shows, and Gears of War looks so damn good, and Clockwork Revolution looks so damn good. It made it tough to call that. But yeah, you're right. This is, to quote all of investigative journalism, this is going to be a bloodbath probably over the next, leading into, they're saying it'll all be done by June 30th, but we'll see.
Yeah, so Basically, guys, they are closing down multiple game studios. Is the rumor right now? I just saw some stuff where some of these game studios are reportedly essentially negotiating their independence, where instead of being
Yeah.
shut down, they'll basically win their freedom and be able to continue on, basically buy themselves out from under Xbox's control, so that instead of being shut down, they'll just be self sufficient. So among those studios that have been rumored for trouble is Ninja Theory, Compulsion Games, Arkane Lyon, Double Fine. I feel like I might even be forgetting another one, but there have been quite a few there, and some big names there. One is Double Fine, which I mean they've been around forever. You know,
Yeah.
they were the guys behind Psychonauts, and they've been a legendary uh, game dev for a long time. Arcane Lyon, they're the ones that were supposed to be developing the Blade video game, and we've gotten mixed reporting around the Blade video game as of late. We had some people saying that insiders are basically saying that it's as good as dead, and then we actually had someone from the studio say that it was still going well and was in progress. Then we have Compulsion Games, you know, and they were
Which
the ones that, huh?
they did a game called South of Midnight, and I'd never even heard of it. I don't even know what that is.
It was a game that was destined to be a minor hit, if a hit at all. It
Yeah.
was basically about a young girl in the South, and
Oh yeah. Okay, I do
yeah,
remember that.
she went through it was kind of like a platformer where she sort of like discovered
Yeah.
the roots of different music, and it just and it also was in development for a long time, and it released buggy to mixed reviews. It was one that Phil Spencer he really believed in it, and he had given them all the time in the world to complete it, and it didn't pay off. And then of
Right.
course the biggie, the one that is the most baffling out of all of them is Ninja Theory.
Of course.
Baff-
Yeah.
Baffling because you just went through some of the impressive showings at the Xbox showcase that they did, and one of those showings was from Ninja Theory with Senua, which is
Yeah.
Hellblade 3. Just they're just calling it Senua, you know, because there was they did Hellblade 1 and then Senua's Sacrifice, and so yeah, they have Senua coming out Hellblade 3, and it looked incredible. It looked like they had actually polished up from the previous two games, and then
Yeah.
immediately followed by the news that they were in consideration for being closed. The rumors now circulating, one is that they're one of the studios that's negotiating for their independence, but two also is that Xbox knew. It's not like they went into the show and then had a hard conversation later about who needed to be
Right.
closed. They already knew going into this show that they were on the list, and the reason that they did it, supposedly based on insider leaks and stuff, was that they were hoping that showing that trailer would get interest up for a potential purchase, for somebody else to purchase them. And this just seems so bizarre to me. Even if the ideal thing did work out, Jay, what
Yeah.
kind of look would that be if, let's say, it worked out perfect, like it worked out exactly the way they wanted to? They advertised this thing as part of the Xbox showcase. They get bought out, and then that game goes over to somebody else, and then gets released multi-platform. What if Sony bought them and it got released as a Sony exclusive? You know, so even in their perfect world, if it worked out the way they wanted it to of getting purchased, I don't think that would have been a good look either.
Well, no, and it's not. And you know, to be clear, it's not like Hellblade was listed as AAA. You know, it's not on the level with like the Call of Duties and the Assassin's Creed games. You know, the first game was only 3 to 4 hours long, and it felt like more of a you know, like a hey, this is a we're just trying this out. This is a prototype, see how it goes. And then Hellblade 2 came out, and again, I wouldn't really label it as an action game. It was more of an action cinematic experience because it felt like more mini games and just getting you through the story. What really sold you on it was the graphics and the music, dude. The music was so ambient and it was on point with that type of people that you were playing and whatnot. And this third one looks like it has a competent fight engine. Like they've kind of really expanded it out.
Looked very
And
smooth.
yeah, and we might get a full-fledged, at least 10-hour experience. And yeah, and then we get off the show and oh, whoa, they might be closing Ninja Theory down. So yeah, if Sony gets it, I'm happy for Sony. Good job. Great job.
But I'm just saying, like, even if that was it, I can't fathom
Yeah.
Xbox's state of mind to do this. Like I said, so even if it worked out, like I said, that's under the ideal circumstance that somebody
Yeah.
saw that, like, okay, we want that for us, bought it, and now Xbox just showed in this theoretical scenario, they just showed an X or a PlayStation exclusive at an Xbox showcase.
Yeah.
Like I just don't understand how they thought this would go. And you make a good point. I'd heard some other Mr. Matty Plays had pointed out the same thing, that really the first two games felt more like tech demos than they felt
Yeah.
like games. It felt like, hey, look at what our engine can do, more than any sort of actual sort of real meat to what they were showing. And it
Yeah.
looked like they may have finally got that. But yeah, so
In
to
fact, it
show,
kind of felt like they were, even with those first two games, they're like, this is what we've got. It felt like they were shopping themselves from the get-go. Like, this is what we've got. We need help. Somebody come along, help carry this load so we can make this into like a full game. And that's, I thought when we saw the third one, I was like, wow, it looks like they finally got the help they needed, only to find out they not only didn't get the help, that whatever list Microsoft had, that okay, these are all the devs under our portfolio right now. Anybody below the red line on June 1st, peace and hair grease, man. So, man, I don't know. It's a really sad day for him. Oh, really?
yeah. So I don't know. And then of course this is off the heels of something that you alluded to earlier, I believe, because we talked about it before we went on the air. But I believe you also
Yeah.
alluded to it earlier with Asha Sharma kind of released that email, or well, she didn't. She sent the email out, and then the email, of course, leaked
Yeah,
to
of
the
course.
internet, talking about what did they call it? They called it a reset, right? Wasn't that what they were their
Yes.
terminology?
Yeah, they have to do a reset. They have to, I mean, they have to cut their load, man. They have to cut off the book to make the money because they lost. I forgot what it was. It was a ridiculous amount of money when I read the amount, and a reset's all they can do to move forward. And she got, here's the thing too. She got hampered with a lot of, and I love Phil, I do, but he made a couple missteps, man, and she's the one that's shouldering that burden. So my thing too is kudos to her for, even because she knew what she was getting into, and she knew what was gonna happen over these first few months. So, and I don't think we should live under any illusion that these planned closures weren't months and months ago talked about.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
But that's the thing is to an extent I can understand that. I like we have things like Compulsion Games. That was not doing great. They were. It's not like they were making
yeah,
money or anything like that. And then we have Arkane Lyon, which is sad, like because Arkane, has been incredible. I
yeah,
mean, the Arkane's made so many great games, and then we already had the shutdown of Arkane Austin, and now we could have potentially shut down of Arkane Lyon. So that one's a bitter, especially given that they were the ones developing the Blade game, which looked really cool. I mean, granted, we didn't see like gameplay or anything, but we saw like
right,
the quick trailer that showed us a bit of their idea of the art style and that kind of thing, and then just the idea of a Blade game done by Arkane, which has certainly no strangers to swordplay, would
correct,
be awesome. Uh, so like I get it all makes sense except Ninja Theory. That's the one that just seems like such a misstep. And again, like you said, the releases that they did, they always looked impressive, but they never sold well. And So I get the stance. It's just the fact that you prominently feature it and gas it up on your showcase, and then, immediately throw water on it, and it bothers me. And so, yeah, I hate to see people losing their jobs. I get why these uh these developers were the ones in the crosshairs, and these studios were the ones in the crosshairs. But I don't know. And then you have something like Double Fine, where I was out of the loop on this one, but they have Kiln, which is like a pottery
Yeah,
based sort of odd game. Uh
weird.
yeah, but that's what they are. Double Fine is Double Fine, and that's one where you have this legendary studio that it might be, especially since they didn't release anything that was super expensive and bombed. That seemed, by all I've seen, Kiln's doing rather well, especially for the budget that it had. I mean, they're
Yeah.
one. I think they're like a studio that you should keep in your portfolio just because of their lineage, and as long as
Well,
they're not losing you money. But I don't know. It just
that
it's
was
sad.
another that's another side of this argument too that we haven't brought up yet. Is their original those three companies' original goal? They were told to just develop games to fill up the Game Pass space. And it's almost like they're getting closed for following orders, man.
Yeah.
Which they weren't given any kind of like, sales goals. It was just create games to fill up the Game Pass space. And they did that. And I think it's important too when again, back to Ninja Theory, because they're definitely the most successful of the three, but they also did Kung Fu Chaos for the original Xbox, which was fantastic. They did Heavenly Sword for the PlayStation 3. They did Enslaved Odyssey to the West. They did the Devil May Cry game in 2013.
Enslaved
They
and
did
the Devil May Cry reboot didn't exactly set the world on fire, though.
no, no, they didn't. They did Disney Infinity 3.0.
And which you and I had talked about. We actually
Yes,
enjoyed Disney Infinity. I was
yes.
bummed whenever that shut down.
And then they did the Hellblade games and Bleeding Edge in 2020, whatever that one was. But and then they've got a few VR products that they had, but still, that it's a decent portfolio for a small company.
Well, and you got to take when, like you said, their marching orders were, "Hey, just make games, fill our library. Like get us
Yeah,
somewhere here," because they had that was the thing, is the Xbox wasn't producing games. They would all get canceled, or they would get the studios would get closed, something like that. And they did it, and like I said, they got punished for it. It's like we knew that there weren't any other big IPs, like there weren't Call of Duty or anything like that. You've got to take
right.
chances, and you've got to try new things to find these new IPs, because right now they don't exist. You've already got somebody on Halo, you've already got somebody on Gears of War, you've already got somebody on Call of Duty, like you've already got somebody on Fallout. These big blockbuster franchises, they already have homes. So what they need is to have people to just kind of like throw some stuff at the wall and find something that sticks, and then make that the next big thing. But you're not going to find that if you don't release games and don't let people do what they do. And yeah, these people did what they did. Sure, they missed sometimes, but man, it's just brutal. We're still on that track record that Xbox has, where they are canceling more games and closing more studios than they are releasing games. And that is not sustainable. There's certainly a way that you can close enough studios and then make enough money on Call of Duty that you're profitable, that you're above whatever line you need to get above, because you have these reliable money makers while also closing these things that you are bleeding money on. So you can get above that red line, but that doesn't make you successful, and it's not sustainable. Like, that just gets you above the red line then, but then you just lost all of the creativity and ingenuity
Yeah.
that could have propelled you into the future, because if you cut all those people and then just let the big franchises bring you back above that red line, the only thing that you have is to let those people just go back and make the next iteration of that same franchise. All these people that are churning stuff out to try to find new ideas and new things and make interesting choices, they're getting closed.
Not to mention the fact that any small company, after you guys have returned to a level of success, if you try to reach out to small companies and try to bring them into the fold, dude, there's no trust there. They're going to be,
Yeah.
why would we? Are you going to close us down in 2 years? No, we'll just keep making, I love using the adage of the Astroneer people, and I always forget the name of that company, but they have stayed independent and they just refuse. And I'm happy for them. They've got a great product, and there's no reason for them to join, go under the umbrella of anybody huge. But yeah, you've destroyed trust amongst small developers on what you can bring in going forward. If your only things are now going to be Activision, Blizzard, and Bethesda, you're pretty hosed.
Yeah, if you're Xbox, you are presenting yourself as the scorpion in that old proverb of the frog and the scorpion, and how
Yes.
the scorpion goes up to the frog and says, "Hey, I can't swim and I need to get across this river. Can I ride on your back?" And the frog says, "No, you can't ride
No,
on my
man,
back.
you're a
You're a scorpion.
scorpion.
Yeah, you'll sting me." And the scorpion says, "No, I won't. No, I won't. I promise. Why would I sting you? If I sting you and you
Yeah.
die and you drown, then we both die. Why would I do that?" And then the frog says, "Well, you got a good point. So hop on." So Scorpion hops on the frog's back. They go across the river, and sure enough, Scorpion stings the frog. And the frog looks up and says, "Why did you do that? Now we're both going to die." And the scorpion says, "Because I'm a
Because
scorpion."
I'm a scorpion.
And Xbox has now done that like more times than we can count. They have
Yeah.
stung the frog. And like you said, the trust is gone. Not only is the trust gone with new studios, new developers, that now whenever they go to somebody else and they're like, "Hey, how about we bring you under the Xbox Studios umbrella?" They're going to be like, "No, no, 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 no. We can die on our own. Thanks." But they've also killed the trust with the players.
Yeah.
You just not only is there just the initial disappointment of like, here we go again, we're closing more studios, we're doing all this, but then you're actively putting trailers on your showcase that that game's either not getting released or it's not at least not getting released under you. Like you're like, well, we're either going to sell it or we're going to close it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And if I was one of these studios that, and again, we've got Ninja Theory, Double Fine. They have been sort of, the rumors are that they're negotiating for their independence from Xbox. Maybe some others. If that's true and they do get their independence from Xbox, I would not release my game on Xbox.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I was trying to think where my link to Double Fine was, and you used the word brutal earlier, and then it instantly clicked.
Brutal Legend.
Brutal Legend. I don't know if that's going to create a tangent on the show already, but um, if I'm Double Fine, I'm like, we're doing a sequel to Brutal Legend, and
Yeah,
yes, we
called
got
Jack
Jack
Black
Black
up
back.
and
Yeah, and I guarantee you he'd say yes, because that was a fantastic double A title, man. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, he's basically a guitarist in this fantasy world, and the music was awesome, the fighting was cool, um, really off the wall shit. Talk about, they were throwing spaghetti on that one and knowing it wasn't going to stick. I mean, it just was, letting it fall. Hey, just let it fall off the wall. Nobody gives a shit. This is good.
and
So
then it's still well regarded now. As everybody, we all
yeah,
look back on it fondly, and that's what I'm saying. Like that lineage, like you know, they didn't produce anything that was a straight up bomb. They didn't overspend on stuff. At least I don't get the I
yeah.
don't nothing I've seen show that they overspent on anything. It seems like if they got a game that they expected modest interest in, they got a modest budget, and they made the game, and but having a studio that still has what's it, is it what's the guy's name? Is it Tim Schafer?
Tim
Is that
Schafer, yeah,
yeah,
Tim
behind Double
Schafer,
Fine. So you got him, you got that studio. Like just having those guys on your team is worth
yeah,
whatever it costs to keep them on, which I can't imagine is really all that much. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I don't know. I just it's disheartening, and yeah, I don't think that the players now trust them either after having that on the showcase. Like you said, the studios for sure should not trust it. And that's another bad thing is like not only do the studios not trust them, but immediately at the beginning of Asha Sharma's reign, right? So
Yeah.
like at least before, a lot of them had relationships with Phil Spencer. Whenever he was still, managing the studios, before he was over all of Xbox, before whenever he was just over Xbox games, and
Yeah.
that at least helped them secure some deals with these game companies, even whenever they had closed other studios and stuff like that. But now, I mean, they've cleaned house. They have a brand new team, and they're already off on that. And I think not only is it destroying trust with studios, destroying trust with gamers, I think it's ruining relationships that they have with studio heads.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I just don't see any way that this positively impacts Xbox. Even if some of the other things that you mentioned in their ideas for reset work, and they have positive impacts, I don't think that those things are going to have so positive of an impact that they outweigh the negatives of these closures. Um,
Well, it's like I said before the show too. It's quite the crucible that they're going through right now, and a lot of it is self-inflicted. Not
all
by
of it
the
is
current,
self-inflicted.
not by the current people in charge. They inherited it, but they've got to work through it, and they've got tough decisions to make. And like I said too, it's sometimes it's got to get worse before it gets better. I do hope they come out on the other end. I think they're good for the market, for some of their franchises, and you know, I hate seeing people just implode, and I don't think we're going to have that. It's going to be a while though before they're able to get back up on the horse and do their thing.
Yeah, well, I think this is the one that finally did it for me. Like, cause so long, it's always, hey, good Xbox, bad Xbox. Anytime Xbox did
Yeah,
something good, bad Xbox came right behind it. And then we had the showcase. We spoke so highly of it last week, and then immediately bad Xbox came. I think I'm done trusting Xbox.
yeah.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week, and we even talked about how we were so surprised because there was no bad Xbox, and then no, it's just a delayed bad Xbox. So yeah, that's they've lost they'd already lost my trust, and then that kind of made me get a minuscule, like, little granule of trust back in them in that game show, and they've lost it all. So yeah, I'm done trusting Xbox. Obviously, we'll still cover it and everything like that, but
Yeah.
like any positive news from Xbox is gonna get a very skeptical eye from me.
Well, luckily, I feel like that's really the only bad news story we've got tonight. Hopefully, but
No,
uh,
actually, if you do, you want to do a good one before we do another bad one, or get the other bad one out of the way?
yeah, let's do a good one real
Okay.
quick. And I need some good today. Like I said, I am, and folks, I apologize. I am just completely out of it today. But um, 007 did their roadmap video. It was very well done. It's about a minute and 45 seconds. You can find it on YouTube. But the roadmap looks good. It looks solid moving forward. It much in the way that Hitman World of Assassination was when they first decided to combine the three games, and then really started a solid roadmap of delivering us content. Um, so we're going to get new challenges and upgrades. We're doing it. It showed footage of a thing called Back to Kensington, which it looked like you were in the basement at Q Branch, like somebody had invaded MI6 and you were fighting them through, MI6 and into Q Branch. So really interesting there. They didn't really go into a lot of detail, I think, on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then they said that we are going to the slopes of Slovakia, which is where the first mission from the walkthrough on the that they first ever did. But it looked like we were in a car. It looked like an Aston Martin Valkyrie, which is like their high end hypercar, and the thing had like dual guns pop out of the back. Which I was like, okay, I don't know what we're doing, but that looks freaking cool. Then we're going back to Mauritania. Have you been to Mauritania yet? To Aleph?
No.
Okay, so it's like a modern pirate underground world. It's where you meet Lenny Kravitz's character. But they're creating. This is what they said. This was really weird. They said we're gonna give you a chance to go back to Mauritania, a friendlier Mauritania. And then that's all they said. They stopped it right there. They don't show you why you're there or what you're doing. And then they said, we're going to go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, well, I do know that they already announced during the game shows or whatever that there was gonna be another mission where Balma was back. Like Lenny Kravitz's character was back.
Y-
So a friendlier Mauritania then would lead me to believe, which is something that you predicted before the game released, which was that he was going to be one of the like seedy characters that
Yeah.
ends up actually becoming like an uncomfortable ally of
Yeah.
James Bond's. And
And it's
looks
funny
like
you
that is exactly what has happened.
And it's funny you brought that up because what I just said about a friendlier Mauritania, they separated that by like 40 seconds from the new content with Bavma. So you're going back to Vietnam, and they said we have a new enemy threat in Vietnam that we need to remove. So we had to fight our way through that resort in Vietnam again. And I'm hoping it's a proper Bond villain that they introduce on that, which could be cool, especially if they, I hate to say it, but if they got AI to do Christopher Lee's Scaramanga from the movie, that would be fantastic and aptly placed as far as the Vietnam setting. We're also getting new episodic content, which you just alluded to with Lenny Kravitz's Bavma, and he's actually in trouble. And he reaches out to MI6, and it's kind of a quid pro quo because he had already previously helped out MI6. So yeah, now you're beholden to him a little bit and him to you. So they're bringing you in for a whole new chapter style episode. We're getting a new Q gadget, which is called G2 glasses, but they didn't, which I think is going to be cool if it's what I think it is. They didn't say anything about it, but they did show like a sheen happen when he put the glasses on, like it might have a scan feature, which would be neat, even though I think the Q lens already kind of does that. But it'd be cool if we get an added feature with the glasses. And then they're going to add new vehicle challenges. And I saw boats, I saw armored trucks, weaponized cars. So they're not stopping, which is a good thing because they've hit their stride on sales. I think they're probably going to have a little plateau here before we get to the fall, and
But it
that's
is their
fine
best
because
selling game ever, right? So far.
yeah, absolutely. And if it follows suit with what Hitman did, once Hitman started dropping that content, we started seeing different editions of the game. And I think that'll be no different with 007 First Light. So anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are on that roadmap, but to me, it's encouraging.
I'm excited. I mean, it's the path that we had not only expected, but it's what we hoped for. It's one of those things where it's
Yeah,
like this is what we expected to happen, and that's a good thing. That they're kind of going off of because they've done stellar post release support for
yeah,
the world of assassination. Again, like we've said many times, they're still putting out content for that, and so I think they've really figured out how to like kind of trickle out that
yeah. Pace
content.
themselves. Yeah,
Yeah, where it's like it's not huge. It's not like you're getting 8 hours of content. But you're getting enough, especially given that their play style.
right.
You can play the mission multiple times. Like that's what's fun is like you can do it multiple times and figure out new ways. So you can kind of entertain yourself for a handful of hours at
Yeah,
least when they release one of these things, and they release them often enough, so they can keep working on that. And so it's a little bit at a time, but they're frequent, and they feel special. So they're applying that same sort of roadmap that they like mastered on World of Assassination and applying it to 007. And so far, and in fact, they're doing it even better. Where it's so we suspected that they would be reusing locations, which obviously they are. So you said so
yeah,
it's returning to Vietnam, returning to Bavma's area, all this stuff. So they're reusing their assets, which obviously saves tons of time, tons of money, and they can, just
yeah,
put new characters in there. And I mean, one of the favorite things that they did on Hitman, which was whenever they did the Casino Royale mission in Hitman, they they still used existing assets and just sort of like rearrange the furniture, as it were, to kind of like
That's exactly what they did. Some of the rooms were different a little bit, but it was and it made it cool. A lot of people would complain about reusing an asset, but the fact that it was in Paris, and the fact that I knew my way around that place actually made it feel more cinematic. It felt like I had been cast in that role to play, and I knew exactly where I was going. It was none of those like you watch content, people be walking down a hall and then they'll turn around and they'll go back the other way, and you can tell in their mind they're like, "Where was that room again?" But now that you know the ground you're on, it's really cool. And still, you see people do things even today on Hitman where you're like, shit, I didn't even think about that, man. You know?
and I think they were going to
And
get the same thing out of 007 for sure.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I am encouraged by this roadmap. I think IOI is a company that knows they don't have to blow all their trump cards at once, man. They can hold a card even when they have an idea. I feel like it's one of those things. Okay, let's table that idea, put it up on the board. It's definitely going in, but this is our docket for stuff going out this month, and we're going to wait, and then we'll throw that out there. So just to keep interest alive, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think they've mastered the pace. I think they know what their audience wants, and yeah, like I said, being able to reuse assets, and they're just basically throwing in
Yeah,
some, and in some cases, probably even reusing character models because Bobma's returning and this and that. So all you got to do is like get people in the recording studio, program some new things. Like it saves a ton of time. They can crank this stuff out. Not to mention that the game was delayed already by a little bit. What was it, a month, 2 months? That the game got delayed by, and then they have it like the team that's doing like the additional content got them a little bit of time to get up even more of a buffer. They've
yeah,
probably got at least 3 missions that are going to be trickling out, either done or close to already. So yeah, I'm so stoked that they are one, that it's their best selling game ever. I'm really happy that they're getting some of the attention. Granted, we had kind of talked about some of the mixed reception that it's gotten with some people, just because that format, they were so unfamiliar with it. And then at first I was like, well, how dare they? And then I kind of thought back like, okay, well, actually, whenever I first played Hitman, I remember how intimidating that could be to have that level of freedom to do
oh
whatever you
yeah,
wanted. But so yeah, I'm glad that they have the success, that they're getting the attention. They've got the roadmap. I think that they are ready to seize the spotlight while they've got it. So yeah, IOI, props to them. They made a great game. I have nothing but confidence that their post-release roadmap and schedule is going to be bangers. So yeah, I'm very happy, very proud of them. It's one I have no association with IOI. Like I don't have any
right.
family members working there. I don't own any stock, but I just like the company. I like what they've done, and I'm always rooting for them. And I'm
I would
glad that they're
like to
finally
work there.
experiencing some of the success that they've earned for years
Yeah,
now.
I'd love to just go hang out in that studio for a day and talk to people.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be interesting just seeing all the props and stuff they have in there. But um, I mean, there's a lot of companies I'd love to go, and some of them have open tours, but Bethesda being one of them for sure, because they have so many, like their whole lobby is just nothing but props. But anyway, yes, super excited about that. So anyway, that was my first good news story.
Well, I don't think we'll need to linger on this one too long, because we've been playing the trumpets on this one for a while.
Oh, good.
Uh and that is Bungie. So, you know, Sony is not immune from all
Oh,
this. So
man.
yeah, Bungie, it's basically being reported that Bungie is about to lay off 40% of their workforce as a result of shutting down Destiny 2.
How many
Which
people
is,
does that translate
I
to?
believe I saw a
Sorry if I
stat that,
sniped you. I didn't
no,
mean to.
no, I believe I saw a stat that said that that was something like 4,000 people. Um,
Holy crap.
yeah. So okay, perhaps I overspoke. Maybe I added a zero. They're saying, I just googled it and it says 400 people.
Still,
Uh,
man, at a game company, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and it's also one of those things where it's like it's counter to the narrative right now, because so the whole thing was, we're shutting down Destiny 2 because that's dead to us, and we're all in on Marathon, when Marathon has gone down, down, down since launch. And Destiny has actually had a resurgence because there was the whole thing whenever they're like, well, it's over June 9th. We're done. We're cutting bait and we're
Right.
leaving. And then the players sort of rallied because they were trying to convince Sony to reinvest in Destiny. And so right now, the Destiny player base is actually elevated and Marathon is down here. So they're cutting all the people, or at least a large chunk of the people that worked on Destiny. Any remaining staff from Destiny is going to be redirected to Marathon, and it's going to be all eyes on Marathon, and Marathon ain't going to work, man. It's just not going to do it.
Yeah.
You
Even with the
can't.
new game modes and stuff that they're talking about adding, it's not enough.
No, and it was a snake bitten concept from the beginning.
Yeah.
So because again, the original Marathon was the progenitor of Halo,
Of
you know,
Halo, first person
and so then
shooter.
they
Yeah.
revisit this thing of okay, well, we're going to use the name and quasi kind of use the lore, but it's not related to Halo because it can't be because they no longer own Halo, and so it's this weird extraction shooter, and it looks like a Marilyn Manson music video on acid. Like I don't know it like and
Plus, unfortunately for them, Arc Raiders released, and they're going to get
yeah, yeah, Arc Raiders kind of ate their Fruit Loops, man. Like
yeah.
there's just not it's just not there. So uh I mean, I've said it before, I really feel like we've seen the last game that Bungie will ever release.
Oh yeah,
In fact, because with this, everybody's like, I was one of them where I'm like, man, I wish Sony hadn't bought them. And insiders, I think it's somebody that no longer works for Bungie, but so that did at that time, and they
yeah.
said that basically Bungie would already be dead if not for Sony. So at the time that Sony bought them, they were already about to have to make some hard decisions. So they were they're independent, then they went to Xbox, and then they got their independence from Xbox and did their own thing with Destiny. And to almost go broke when you have Destiny is mismanagement. There is no way that you should be
Yeah.
going broke whenever you have Destiny. That's insane. But yeah, so then they did that. They were about to go broke while being independent. Sony bought them out, and then that's where we are now. So apparently, this was just prolonging the inevitable, and this just feels desperate to me. Like I just you can't show me a business model or a roadmap or a plan for Marathon that would there's nothing you could put in front of me and saying this is what our ideas are for Marathon that would make me think that it's going to bring Marathon back from the dead and you know bring Bungie back to its former glory. I see no way that this can happen in
What
reality.
makes what makes me laugh right now is how much they're promoting Destiny 2 on PlayStation Store and Steam. They're almost doing more promotion on that game right now than they do when they end up launching like one of their big expansions. And of course, if you have one of the bigger PS Plus subscriptions as far as tiers go, you can get basically the entire package now for free, which has got to piss people off that paid for it. And then Steam is running huge sales on all the comment, which is funny because or content, which is funny because Warframe is also doing gigantic sales on all their content. So
Well, and again, I can't sing the praises enough for is it Digital Extremes that does Warframe?
yes,
Yeah, I can't sing their praises enough. They have been cranking away at Warframe for years, and I had actually recently kind of started playing it again with my brother, and catching up with everything, and it really is incredible what they've been able to accomplish. They've never slowed down. They've never. In fact, they just keep blowing my mind. Like
yeah,
they keep doing these insane expansions to it with functionality and armor sets and things like that. The warframes themselves. Uh, absolutely incredible stuff, and it never feels um like you're being taken advantage of, and like they have
Right.
stuff that you can purchase, but it never feels predatory. It's one of the few games that you can play that's a free to play game, and when they say, well, you can earn this in game, you truly can earn it in game. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh
Yeah.
well, if you grind for 150 hours on this one mission on this one planet, theoretically you could get. No, like you can get it fairly. I don't know, they are the blueprint for a free to play game, and
Yeah.
they haven't sunset content. Like they, we have Destiny 2. There's planets that just don't exist now. You can't even play the initial Destiny 2 missions anymore because the planets don't exist in the game anymore. They just sunset them. So I don't know. It's just it's infuriating to see. I mean, we all were yelling about this whenever it was happening. Whenever they were making all of these bad choices with Destiny 2, and they stopped listening to the community. Like this is exactly what we were afraid of, and it happened. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I so there's the bad news is that um, you know 400 people at Bungie are being laid off. Anybody that's not being laid off is going to be redirected toward Marathon. And I just do not see any scenario where Marathon pulls Bungie out of this.
Yeah. And I think to your point about Warframe, it it's got to infuriate those companies that make those games that aren't on that model. Like, maybe they don't have the option to do that. And I think for Warframe, it's because they've maintained a small, centralized team. So they're decreasing their overhead. They're able to put out this stuff. And like you said, my son played it pretty actively for a while. Um, and, he would get like they always offer the two options if you want to buy the packs. They have that like 9.99 where you get the frame for your 10.0, and then they'll have a $60 pack, which is a whole slew of cosmetics, but you don't need it. And again, to your point, you can work yourself towards getting that stuff. So, um, anyway, it was a good plan. But yes, I agree with you as far as Destiny goes.
So yeah, I think Bungie has released its last game that will ever play under the Bungie banner. So
Yeah.
okay, Jay, more good news.
Well, this is obviously good news for pretty much everybody that's going to buy this game. But GTA 6 finally announced when they uncovered their box art, which people are so crack fiending for this game that I have seen I don't know how many videos of people breaking down millimeter sections of the box art. What could this possibly mean? Well, we think it means you don't know shit. You don't know what it means. It's just a picture. But they also put out that they're opening pre-orders on June 25th, and we still do not have a price point. Which I guess we'll have one on June 25th.
So again,
I
so
would think.
Rockstar themselves officially announced that June
Yeah,
25th was pre-orders.
yeah, it was all over, dude. It was all over the place. And June 25th is the date for, and they've got to announce something. But now you've got the games media saying, "Hey, is it going to be $70? Is it going to be $80?" We got people out there saying that it's going to be $100. I don't think so. Even the head dude at Rockstar was like, we've got to keep the price manageable so people will buy the game." And that tells me right there it's not going to be $100, but it doesn't say that it's not going to be 80.
I still
And
think I mean, going back to last year we were talking about
yeah,
this and we made a video about it. I still
yeah,
think it's going to be 70. I think that they are going to keep it down, like you said, sell as many copies as they can because the
yeah,
moneymaker is going to be the online component. And then whenever they go back down, or whenever they keep it at 70, if they do, I think again that's going to keep because we've for the last like 18 months at least, there's been this
yeah,
thing about who's going to be the first one to pop their head up and take the heat for normalizing the $80 game outside of Nintendo. Microsoft tried it and then backed off, and then there were rumors that it was going to be Borderlands, and then
yeah,
that didn't happen. So if GTA 6 releases and they come out at $70, I think it's going
yeah,
to hold the entire industry at $70 for a while longer because there's no way I don't think there's any way that they would be able to make an argument that if GTA 6 released at this, we can release above that.
Yeah, I'm going to create another bad Xbox story right here when I say this, but I think Gears of War is going to be $80.
Well, I mean, Xbox did set the precedent there because they were like, oh, all these games that we're doing now,
Yeah,
they're going to release at $80, and then they walk that back and they're like, well, at least until we get out of the holiday season, we won't do that. And
yeah,
they've been putting it off. So they might do. Although, given their position, and again, I'm not saying they wouldn't do this because obviously they are the masters at shooting themselves in the foot. But it would be a poor business decision to do that. I mean, the one of the very few games that you're actually going to be able to put out, and granted, you spent a lot. They spent $400 million on that
yeah,
game, and but to release it, if you're gonna if there's not another game that comes out from some other publisher that's already taken the heat of breaking the seal at $80, I don't think I don't think that's a good business move for Xbox to be the one to take the heat.
yeah. I just, based on what you said earlier about the $400 million production, I think that's going to drive the $80 price tag. Plus, they've got to come out of the doldrums, and I think they're going to make a bad decision and say that it's going to be $80.
Well, and even worse
Um,
though is I don't think it's going to sell that well at $80.
yeah, and that worries me too. Especially when they might use the $80 to drive people to Game Pass, and
But they don't
that would
make
be a
they're not going to
strat.
make money on
I
Game Pass
know,
at $400 million.
I know, man, but they're you see what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like hey, you can pay $80 or you can pay $22 and you'll get it day one for free along with 900 other games.
But then
So
if that did work, then what they would do if they were able to get a lot of people into Game Pass, they'd like let them sit there for 6, maybe 7 months, and then say,
yeah,
"Hey, guess what? Prices are going up.
yep,
Times are hard. Baby's got to eat," and then all those people are gone. Like it's
yeah.
like I think they have really backed themselves into a corner. Again, back to your original point with them, trust. Nobody trusts them, and I think, yeah, I don't see how they can navigate this with a $400 million investment in Gears of
Yeah.
War. I don't see how they can be profitable in that and not screw gamers.
Let's just hope our two viewers right now are not Asha Sharma and Matt Booty, or maybe it should be. Maybe they'll listen to some
Yeah,
couple of unks talking about, hey, this is, you got to
don't
fix
do it,
the ship
Asha.
here. You got to right the ship. So before we move into movies and TV, I only had two more good news stories. So it's up to you. Do you have another not so good news story?
No, no, I think I'm filled up on ranting about
Okay.
Xbox and Bungie.
Well, both of mine come from a company that we've also given a lot of shit to. I mean, a lot of shit to. But
Handy?
they also have some good stuff. And that company is Ubisoft.
Uh,
I have watched the final preview vid for AC Black Flag Resynced. The gameplay took place in sequence 3 where you're going after Julian DeCosse and you have to assassinate him on his ship, and it's when you get your own. It's on Inagua, that's where you get your pirate hideout. Um, some of it looked different. Some of it was identical, just with the upgraded, engine and graphics and whatnot. But there were some different pieces to it. They added. It's more robust. It's not just the trip through the woods and you come out and next to the or the house, and
mhm.
there was a lot of cool stuff that they added. But man, I already loved the game part of it, so I don't feel bad when I say this because it feels like I'm about to say something superficial, but the presentation was, dude, it's gorgeous. Like when he came out and the waterfalls were there, I don't remember it being that thunderous with those three waterfalls coming off the mountain in the original. So everything just looked like it played smoothly and just looked fantastic. So I'm super encouraged again, um, for this July 9 release date.
And this was a game that had to win us over. We were both very, very
Yes.
skeptical as to how this game was going to go, especially because we had all the rumors about RPGification and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and then that they kind of like backtracked and tried to remove some of that stuff. Now, granted, not all of our questions, not all of the things that we were,
Oh, they
um,
still have to sell me. They're still going to
yeah,
have to.
yeah, but we're a lot more encouraged than we were. Before I
Yes.
was like, there's no way they're not screwing this up. And then we had the
Yeah.
big presentation, the big announcement, looked great. Uh and there are still some questions that I have, but I'm certainly far more confident and I'm excited to give it a shot. Whereas before I was just terrified for it to release. But everything I will say, since they officially announced it, everything that they have done has been like pitch perfect as far as, you know, keeping that hype going, what they've shown, trying to win trust of people that have been burned by the more recent
Yeah.
entries in Assassin's Creed. So yeah, they have gone about marketing this thing brilliantly since they
Yeah.
officially announced it.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, uh, IGN was the one that were given exclusive final preview rights. And our old buddy, Travis Northup, Mr. Crimson Desert Gets a Six. He was the guy that they let play it, that
Of
mission.
course.
And I was okay with his take on it as he talked completely through the playthrough. Um, but I enjoyed his take on it. He still will never have redeemed himself from the debacle that was the Crimson Desert review that they decided to die on the hill for.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely encouraged by what I saw.
Well, good. And we don't have much longer to wait. You know, it is
No,
next month. So
yeah, and
we
at the
are
beginning of next month, really. So
yeah, so we are closing in. We are closing into getting those final questions answered.
yeah, my other Ubisoft good news story is after I don't know how many years, the Division 2 is still getting content. Maybe Destiny could have learned some lessons from Division 2, but
And none
we've
of
got a
those
new
are a PS5 patch.
no. Yeah, wow, you really had to bring up that twist, the one little
Hey, it still
bad
looks
news part.
great. It still looks
Yeah,
great.
it does. The new one's called Into the Dark. It is technically a season release, but they're adding new features and modes. So not only will you have the regular part where you normally play your story, but this Into the Dark has you going into the dark zone, but they created a separate PvE dark zone for people that
Ooh,
don't want to go in and play PvP dark zone. Now
I'm down for that.
The AI enemies are a lot stiffer, but you still have to do the extraction, and they will come find you when you're trying to do your extraction. You have to fight them off. But again, it's not. At least it's not trolls just waiting by all the extraction points to burn you down with their ridiculous builds that they had to use a graphing calculator to come up with. And then they do their content video. Look at all these idiots. I'm melting this guy. I'm melting this. Nobody gives a shit, dude. Take that and 50 cents and go get you a fucking cup of coffee. So yeah, I think it's super cool that we're getting a PvE style dark zone that we can go into and do our thing. And it's looking and all the same loot. There's not loot that's different from either any of the zones. So it's looking really cool, man. And it released today, I think, if I'm not
Oh
mistaken.
wow.
Yesterday
Well,
or today.
we'll have to get on and do that because that's one thing that we've
Yeah.
wanted for a long time is to get a PVE dark zone. Because
Yeah.
it's like the dark zone is such a cool concept, but yeah, then there's just jerks that just make it not fun, and it's
Yeah.
like it's not worth it. But yeah, because there's such good gear, and there's gear that you can only get if you go into a dark zone, and
Yeah.
uh, and then the concept itself of just how you have to function within the dark zone and get your stuff out is fun whenever there's not people that are just
And
like
you
ruining it for
correct.
everybody. So yeah, to
Yeah.
have a PVE dark zone, that is awesome. I'm stoked about that. That's great. I would love that.
Yeah. And if your Arc Raiders listening, you want to talk about the gold standard for separating PvP from PvE is Division 2. I think they do it very well, and they have since Division 1. So anyway, that is all I have for games, man.
Excellent. Well, I don't have anything else either. I got my frustrations vented for games now.
Nice. Well, I've got movies that I want to talk about. And again, it's maybe because I feel like complete shit today, but it's stuff I wasn't either A, excited for, or B, I'm still not excited for, or worried about, or scares me. And the first one is The Hunt for Gollum. Say Lord of
Mm.
the Rings. It's a weird Lord of the Rings story because even in the Lord of the Rings book, this part of the story takes up probably less than a page. Um, Maybe 2 pages at best. So this is the story of Gandalf and his people, and Aragorn and their people trying to find Gollum before he is captured and taken to Minas Morgul, so that he can yell out 2 words: Shire, Bagginses. And the fact that they're making a story out of this blows my mind. And I'm by no means a Tolkien scholar, but I know my way around that universe fairly well. And they again are inventing characters. This week it was announced that Anya Taylor-Joy would be joining the cast of The Hunt for Gollum as a Sindarin elf agent of Thranduil, who was played by Lee Pace in the Hobbit movies. And I thought he did an excellent job as Thranduil. And that's a real character. But she's playing a character named Saren, and Saren is not a Tolkien character. And they're defending it by saying we're taking a we're taking a section of the book that was only 1 or 2 pages and we're making a 2 hour movie. So obviously we need a bunch of characters. What I think they needed to do was root cause that back and go, why are we making a 2 hour movie out of a page and a half of a book?
Yeah, it feels desperate.
Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. And there's so many other stories they could have told, man.
Do they have
Um,
access to like do they have the license to the other stories?
yeah, I mean, some of them they do, some of
Because I
them they
know that
don't, but
the licensing situation is really bizarre whenever it comes to Lord of the
yeah,
Rings and different production studios.
I'd like to see a Lord of the Rings movie that starts out with the scene in Rivendell of Hugo Weaving's character Elrond going, "I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago when the strength of men failed," and then flash back and show us that last alliance of elves and men, and show us that battle, which takes place in the Silmarillion, which was the lore book that Tolkien developed prior to Lord of the Rings, but didn't become a book until well after Lord of the Rings. But there's so many other stories they could tell, and they chose a page and a half that takes place between Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers. So I'm not excited, and I'm super concerned about how this is going to end up. I don't know who's being recast. I don't know who's being de-aged. They can't have much longer to work with Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those
Um,
things, like, I hate to say it, but I mean, let's
yeah,
talk realities here, like, it's he's getting up there, and, like, I
yeah,
guess, I don't know, gosh, I don't know, man, like, so I know Elijah Wood's in it. I know that he was gonna be
yeah,
brought in. Now, granted, more power to Elijah Woods, dude still looks super young, like, they probably don't have to do a whole lot, but they're still gonna have to do something. Then you got Gandalf, where it's like, I mean, he was old when they made the first, when they made
yes,
the trilogy, but he is noticeably older. Like, it's one of those things where
yes,
it's like, oh, well, he's old. You're just old. He's just old. So, but then I recently watched the first movie again, and I was like, I mean, he's old, but
yeah,
he was considerably younger. You can tell the difference. So that would be an. I don't know if de aging technology has advanced to the point that you can de-age an old person to just be less old.
slightly older
No, slightly
or
younger, but still
slightly younger.
old.
Sorry,
Where it's like
yeah,
you like they still have wrinkles, they still have age spots, they still have all this stuff that the de-aging is programmed to get rid of. Instead they got
yeah.
to leave some of it. So I don't know. I don't know about the technology that they could employ behind it. I don't know why we need to have that story, especially whenever, like you said, it's a page. So, it's not like a whole lot happens, and we know how it ends because we see Gollum. I don't know. it just feels desperate. It feels like a response to Amazon's The Rings of Power, even though that bombed and that's not competition. So I feel like the risk that they could damage the reputation and the legacy that they had established
Yeah,
with the original trilogy, like I think that risk is quite high.
yeah, I agree. And they're finishing up production on Rings of Power season 3, so that should be interesting, especially since the second season was so very good. But as you alluded to, the first season did in fact bomb. Um,
Well,
but
so did the second
yeah,
season. You
this
just like the
movie,
second season.
uh, 40% of everybody that watched that season loved that season. It was very, very good.
40% of the 20 people that watched season 2.
40% of the entire world population that watched it. So anyway, but yeah, and that's all I have on. I don't want to. And man, Anya Taylor Joy is a mixed bag for me. There are times when I think she does well, and then there are times where she's just very off-putting to me. Um, and I don't know what that is. I love her cast as Alia in Dune, and I love her being cast in that a movie I watched with Miles Teller, who I also don't really like, called The Gorge. I thought that was really a really cool concept. I don't think they
I haven't seen
executed
it.
it very well, but you should watch it. So basically, they're two high level operatives for two different countries placed on either side of a gorge. So they have a scope that these like double scope that they watch each other through every day, and they're alone. And eventually they start writing each other notes, and eventually they start laughing, and then it's one guy and one girl. So, duh.
I
Eventually
was
they
like,
come up with a way.
it sounds like a dramatization of Red versus Blue. Like,
Right. And then eventually they come up with a way to zip line across but then I don't want to spoil it in case you do watch it. It was a good movie.
I'll have to
There
check
was
it out.
parts that lacked execution, but it was still very good. But anyway,
The way
she's
you're
a
setting
weird
it up
cat to me.
makes me feel very much like it could end up being a bit of a scorpion and frog situation where like, oh, we think
It's
we're getting very close, then it's like, oh,
yeah,
why did you do that? Like, well, because that's my job. Yeah.
and except you think you know who the scorpion is, and then you don't.
Hmm.
That's the thing. So anyway, that's all I had on the hunt for Gollum. The other uh, movie that we've got coming out that's obviously huge blockbuster, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Um, I'm starting to think Tom Holland has attended the Matt Damon School for Self Marketing because he is on absolutely every social media feed, this and that. Buy your tickets. Here's the cast. We introduced the brand new villain. Matt Damon has been on everything for the Odyssey. Every late night show. I think he's inventing late night shows to be on. He's on all the reels, and I really think Tom Holland is following suit there. Um,
Which is bold
so
given his propensity for spoilers.
spoilers.
Yeah,
He's
so
gotten better at that, I think, but he still wants to draw people out of this movie, and I think it's mainly because of another movie I'm going to talk about in a second. But they also released the media for the popcorn buckets and the drink cups that are coming out.
I did
And
see
one
the
of the
popcorn bucket. I
popcorn
did not see the cups.
The one popcorn bucket, look at your texts. I sent another one out. He's gonna laugh here in about 10 seconds, maybe less. The popcorn, yeah, the popcorn bucket I can talk about on here, but the drink cup I cannot mention. It's an NSFW situation. I don't know who came up with it. It has to do with the web shooter and Spider
Yeah.
Man's hand, and it does not look. I would not be caught dead drinking out of that cup, whether I was a man or a female. Um, so that the bucket though
Yeah.
looks cool. It's
I
like a
saw that movie
three-story.
once.
Yeah, it's like a three-story building with a deli on the first floor, and Spider-Man's on the wall, kind of hanging out on the wall. And I thought that's a really cool, simple design. Um, but anyway, that stuff's been released now. We've entered an age where I guess you can't come out with a movie now without some type of collector's popcorn bucket and cups.
So
Uh,
at first I was like, I don't even understand why that shape is necessary for a
yes,
drink.
right?
But as I look at the label, it says Spider-Man combo container. So my guess is that it is
Oh, I bet.
intended it is intended to house your drink and popcorn, and then you are drinking your drink through the popcorn bowl.
To be clear, we're not talking about what's being housed in it. We're talking about what is being spewed forth from it. Um, so, folks, if you've seen the final trailer for the movie, there isn't now a scene where he fires a web from his suit and then he looks down at his wrist and it's like another web hot loads for him to blow his load. And that's what this drink cup looks like instead of a spider web thing. I don't even know what to say. You got go on the internet, look it up. You can't miss it. As soon as you see it, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit!"
And then clear your
So,
history.
and then clear your browser history.
Yeah.
Um,
Look, Google it on an incognito tab.
yeah. But anyway, the other one we have, and to me, this is a blockbuster because as much as I love Marvel, I also enjoy DC sometimes. And we've heard kind of mixed feelings on Supergirl coming out, and it was nice to to be able to share what I'm about to share here in a couple minutes. But it looks like a lot of people are enjoying it. I like the fact that they're embracing the fact that Kara is not the same as Kal-El, and that she's her own person, and that she has taken the more of the wild side, dark angel view of who they are. But Den of Geeks, David Crow, and I'm going to share a couple of reviews, like, a couple sentence reviews with you. Den of Geeks, David Crow stated that the installment is the superhero movie I've missed. A straightforward, poignant story with lots of emotion, especially when we see Kara through little Ruthie's eyes, which, if you've seen the trailers, I think that's the girl that's following her around. Luckily, that's every action scene. Millie Alcock absolutely owns the role and will change our idea of Supergirl forever. And that's a pretty profound statement. I loved her in Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Anyway, I thought she was breath of fresh air for that show.
I thought she was better
Uh,
than the person that replaced her.
yes, yeah, I really didn't like that time jump at all. In fact, I liked both of those actresses better. I mean, Olivia Wilde is cool, or not Olivia Wilde, Olivia Cook, from Ready Player One, is also really, she's good in that role too, though. And then comicbook.com's Chris Killian revealed in his thoughts, if you threw Guardians of the Galaxy, True Grit, and Mad Max into a DC blender, you'd get hashtag Supergirl, a grimy, funny, yet surprisingly somber space adventure. Millie shines, especially when we get into Kara's tragic backstory, but Jason Momoa is having the fragging time of his life as Lobo.
I don't
I
think
also
that
want to
is a
highlight
surprise to anyone.
yeah, I also want to highlight the practical effects, which it's James Gunn. The design, makeup, and puppetry are all Oscar level good.
Puppetry.
Yes, Krypton looks incredible, and my goodness, does this movie solidify what Pete casting David Cornsweet is as Soups. Every time he's on screen, you can't help but smile. So, looks like this movie is going to be pretty good, and it comes out before Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Do I think it's going to steal from Spider? No, I don't. People love Spider-Man, dude.
It's
Plus, we just
one of the only money makers that Marvel can depend on right now.
yeah,
Is Spider-Man.
and New York's a big hot topic. The Knicks won the championship for the first time in who knows how long, and it's gonna be a popular summer for them. So
Well, when it comes to DC, they were they were another one that was kind of like on the brink of collapse.
yeah,
And then we had this reboot with James Gunn, and I really liked the Superman movie that they launched everything with, and it did not set the world on fire. Like it made its money back, but it wasn't a blockbuster or anything like that. It wasn't a $1 billion thing. It made its money back, but it just made its money back, and that was about it. But this is the kind of thing where they're in the rebuilding of trust phase. We talked a lot about trust
yeah,
in this episode, and this is what they've got to do. And this is what Marvel has to eventually man up and do as well. And that is, you've got to be willing to invest money and resources and time into really high quality movies that people might not watch. You've got to establish a new pattern of good movies, and eventually it'll catch on. And then the people
Yeah.
that you finally went over and that finally get here, then they'll go back and they'll rewatch these movies that you made. They'll rent it on digital, or they'll watch it on HBO Max, or they'll do something here, and you'll get it back eventually. But you're gonna have to be okay with not making a lot or potentially even losing money to reestablish the trust that our main focus is making good movies. And so I liked Superman. I'm glad to hear that Supergirl is seems to be on the same track. We'll see, but they seem to be so far, and who knows now with the whole merger talk and everything going on. I hope it goes forward the way that they have been, where they seem to be committed to making good movies, and they're willing to um, take the hit to win the trust back. And if they can do that, hopefully Marvel can as well, because Marvel's a lot
Yeah.
closer to the brink than DC ever was.
Yeah, which is funny because we were in exactly the opposite boat uh, during Marvel's high time,
Yeah.
and DC has borrowed a play out of um, Marvel's playbook by having phases now, and apparently this phase with Supergirl is called Phase One: Gods and Monsters. So we'll see how that all plays out for them. But everything I've seen so far makes them. I definitely want to go see it. And I'm interested in both of the stories anyway. But Superman was good. I only had that one little teensy problem, which we know could easily be either A, retconned, or B, it wasn't what we thought it was.
Yeah, yeah, you could
Um,
easily, just like the
yeah,
comics, you could easily write your
yeah,
way around it, no
yeah.
problem.
So, but still, all in all, I love that. Nicholas Holt was such a surprisingly good Lex Luthor, which reminds me, we have seen filming footage from cell phones of the new Superman movie, and he's wearing the
The
Lex suit,
suit.
the suit. And it looks great, and it looks comics accurate. If you've ever played the game Injustice or Injustice 2, actually just Injustice, he's not in Injustice 2, but he wears that suit. It's freaking insane.
If
So
you've ever seen Lex Luthor in a mech suit, it's that. It is that
it's
suit.
that suit. Yeah. He looks like a Constructicon kind of. And he's anyway, wow, I literally just did that with my knuckle. He literally is a mech, just like you said. So that's gonna be good as well. And hopefully they'll find a way where, like they did with where we had the Superman movie, and then we had the Batman movie with Affleck and Cavill, and then we had Batman v Superman. Maybe we'll get the third movie will be a Supergirl Superman, team up type of deal. Um, so anyway, I'm looking forward to that movie as well. And then,
I I am
oh, go
too.
ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I am too, and yeah, I'd seen those leaks and got excited. Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah.
Again, James Gunn is sticking to this thing, which I like, which because that before that was the whole thing is like DC was gritty, Marvel was gritty, and it was this which a gritty reboot I'm all for. I like that, but this is a chance that where it like DC feels different.
Yeah.
You can watch a DC movie and there's no because I had friends, we've all got friends that don't really follow the comics or anything like that, and they didn't even really understand that Marvel and DC were different things, different
Yeah.
properties, different companies, different universes. I think this will help any confusion there. Like you cannot mistake a current DC movie for a current Marvel movie.
That is 100% accurate. Um, I heard a weird story this week too that they're still working on the Shang-Chi sequel. And
Ugh.
even the guy that played Shang-Chi, which I liked that movie. I thought that was a good movie. Um, I mean, dude, we're already 5 to 7 years removed from that movie coming out.
There's so I don't
Man,
want
I
to.
feel like I just opened a can of worms that I did
I
not want to
don't
open.
want to get into basically. I mean, it comes down to what we've all said before. Right now is like so. It looks like what's going to happen with this doomsday, you know,
Yeah.
series that they're working on with of movies, and then the Secret Wars that will follow. It looks like what's going to happen is what's happened in the comic books on more than one occasion, where you have this sort of like cataclysmic event and then reboot, and you start off afresh, and that's how we're going to get the introduction into the MCU of the X-Men and all sorts of different things,
Right.
and that's great. The thing though that they need to watch is they again, they need to keep it small. They need to keep it very tight. They can't have as many properties as they have right now, because at that size, yeah, you're gonna have a situation where, okay, well, you have a character like Shang-Chi, and you okay, now we need a sequel, and 5 years, 6 years to get a sequel. Um, like, it's just not feasible, so I think they need to, like, keep Spider-Man, get the X-Men, a few
Yeah.
others, and just hang out there for a while. Don't expand so far reaching. Keep your cards close, make the movie special. We don't need a Marvel movie every 2 months.
It's a fair point. The last thing I really had was, and I guess this is not a great news story. At least it isn't for me. We both love heist movies.
We do.
We probably have our own lists of what our top 5 are. Um, I loved Ocean's 11. I actually liked Ocean's 12. Ocean's 13, I had some serious structure problems with, but I did like 11 and 12. Ocean's 8 does not exist to me. And folks, it's not for the reason you think. It's because it was a shit movie. Um, so I think my
That was the
favorite
part
will
where
always,
they kind of jumped the shark, and
yeah,
they tried to make it into a universe instead of a franchise, and
correct.
it doesn't work as a universe. It works as a franchise.
No. And now we find out that we're getting a prequel to Ocean's 11. Now, here's the thing, it is being headlined by Margot Robbie and Bradley Cooper. But it's like, to me, it's like, what story are you going to tell? And are those two characters that we know, or new characters? Is it going to be a period piece where they go back to like the 70s and we find out that Bradley Cooper is George Clooney's Danny Ocean's dad or something, you know? And so I don't know what this is going to be or what this plot is, but it worries me, man. I just hate it when it's no different than when an athlete who is an absolute champion keeps going years past his retirement and stains their legacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't win anything. It's like, go out while you're on top, So who
Yeah,
knows? I don't know.
there's a couple of things, right? Like, if you're gonna make, because it not only is it a franchise,
Yeah.
it is an ensemble franchise. It's
Yeah.
like Knives Out. You can't make a Knives Out with Daniel Craig and a bunch of unknown people. The
Yeah.
part of what makes Knives Out work is that it's this star-studded, how did they even get all these people signed on to this one movie kind of effect? And it works as an ensemble. So if we're gonna do a prequel to Ocean's 11, one, it's got to be
Yeah.
stars. So you already mentioned Margot Robbie and Bradley Cooper, obviously two big stars, but the entire cast needs to be stars. That was the whole thing. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
bunch of friends. It was a bunch of friends, and they basically created this movie to work together. Like, just to have fun. So you can't have Margot Robbie and Margot Robbie and Bradley Cooper be the only stars in it. It needs to be star studded. But then, like you said, what do you do? Because, like, it would feel wrong to try to have somebody else play Danny Ocean. Like,
Yes.
it's got to be George Clooney, and if George Clooney's not in it, well, now you have a problem, because you can't have Danny Ocean, and you also can't not reference him. So I think the thing that you mentioned, where if we go way, way back and you make Bradley Cooper, you know, Daniel Ocean the first or whatever, like what I don't
Yeah.
know, like make him Danny Ocean's dad or something like that. I think that's one of the smarter ways to do it. Like, you've gotta have obviously you have to have an ocean in it because otherwise there's like the whole point of the name of the movie doesn't even make
What
sense.
what made me think of the time part going back is the original Ocean's 11 with the Rat Pack in it was in the, I think, late 70s with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. And it
Maybe
was
that's what they're doing.
relatively, maybe that's what they're doing because that heist was a little bit different. It wasn't exactly the same plot to a T, so they could play on that and he could be, but again, everybody in that movie at that time was freaking S tier, dude.
Well, and
Casting.
and Bradley Cooper has done period pieces for that time period.
Yes.
So he would be no stranger to, as has Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
So they would be no strangers to that. Now, if it was that far back, would that have to be Danny Ocean's dad or would that be his granddad?
That's a good question.
I don't know, but that would be
Um,
great. That would be great. That would also give them a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things. They wouldn't have to worry about like, okay, well, this character shows up in Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12, so we can't do this or that.
yeah.
So I don't know, but like you, I think that there's ways to do it that could minimize the the potential harm, but it still feels weird to do it without George Clooney, without Matt Damon.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels weird. It feel like you'd have to get one hell of a cast together to kind of I don't make I know it sounds weird, but really you'd have to get a hell of a cast together to kind of earn the right to
Yeah.
sort of throw your name into the hat and join that franchise. Like it's a weird thing where you have to find a way to earn your place in that franchise, and I don't think you can do it without a star-studded cast. It's got to be a hell of a cast. It's got to be a hell of a script. And if they do something like Ocean's 8, where the movie just sucks, the script's not there, like then it's just like we're talking about with the Hunt for Gollum. You're destroying a legacy. You're not adding to
Yeah.
a franchise. You're tearing down a legacy. Now, granted, Margot Robbie's a smart like actress. Like she made God only knows how much money on Barbie. She was one of the producers on the Barbie movie. You
Yeah.
know, like so her involvement and obviously Bradley Cooper is very intelligent and has made a lot of good choices as well. So I mean their involvement, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe there's something here. Obviously they know more than we do right now. So the fact that they're buying in is encouraging, but not so encouraging that I don't have any concerns.
Yeah. And if it turned out and it was, I'm just throwing names out there, but if it was Robbie and Bradley Cooper and Gosling and, you know,
If Ryan Gosling was in it, I would
yeah.
that would immediately alleviate
Yeah.
like 98% of my fears.
Yes, absolutely. But if it was that, and some of them have worked together before, so and Amy Adams possibly because she worked with Cooper and uh, Christian Bale in that one movie that was a period piece, and I never can remember the name of that, but it was good. So Jeremy Renner. I mean, I'm thinking of people that would fit that bill of like playing the heisting thief type. So that would be really cool. But again, to your point you made right at the beginning of this conversation, it's got to be a lights out cast. And Ocean's 11 had some people that were solid cast members that weren't necessarily huge yet. I mean,
Yeah.
this was pre Gone Girl or whatever by with Casey Affleck or whatever Casey Affleck was in that got or missed whatever he was in that got him an Oscar. And then we had Scott Kahn, who was, riding the legacy of his dad a lot until he got Hawaii Five-0 and a couple other movies. But everybody else, man, was, I mean, it was on point. So anyway,
And the heist has to nail it too. Like you got to have a
yes, it
great cast,
does.
and the heist at the very end has to blow your mind. Whenever
Yeah,
like the whole reveal of like everything that you thought you saw, you didn't see
you
it
didn't
right.
see it.
you know
Yeah,
and the whole reveals, they have to nail every aspect. They have to nail the casting, they have to nail the script, they have to nail the heist. So yeah, the heist itself has to be mind blowing in the end.
Yeah, what I thought was the biggest dupe in Ocean's 12 that got everybody, including the audience, was that they had already stole the egg before the movie, really,
Yeah,
before the plot even started. I mean, it could have been like one of those social media things where they show the Eagles fly the ring to Mordor and just drop it the thing and then they flash the credits. But they could have done that with Ocean's 12. I mean, once they showed Matt Damon on the bus, they could have just put up the credits and that's it.
could have done the 007
So,
first light thing. When, hey, first rule of
yeah,
spycraft, you know.
yeah. So, um, anyway, I hope they're successful because I mean, again, I love those types of movies. So,
And
anyway,
it's one of those things where if they try it and it doesn't do well, we've seen so many times that Hollywood learns the wrong lessons.
yeah,
And if this fails because they didn't nail something, then Hollywood would probably say like, okay, well there you go. Heist movies don't work in 2027 or whenever it releases.
yeah,
Where it's like, well, no, they maybe the cast wasn't there, the scripting wasn't there, or the heist itself sucked. Like no, but they would. I think it would set heist movies back
yeah,
uh, until somebody else was able to like put enough money together and get enough interest to like squeak something out and prove everybody wrong. So just for and heist, there's already so few heist movies as it is.
yeah.
So
So many
it
good, like good ones, at
yeah
least.
yeah.
Yeah,
And even bad ones, it's hard to find. They don't even release they don't release many at all. But yeah, especially really good ones. So yeah, for the sake of heist movies, please be good. Please be good.
yeah. And like two of my favorites that have never been redone or remade, and they're not that old, but I still think they're ripe for it. Would be The Saint, which is probably right at the top of my list, and then Entrapment, which I thought was an excellent heist movie with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta. Um, so anyway, that's all I had tonight, man.
Well, that's all I have as well.
Oh,
Thank you.
I do have one
Oh
thing.
wait, hold on. There's one more thing.
There's one more thing,
High
and
Guard 2.
folks, to all the people, uh, thank you, Arturo, for yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyway, my one more thing is this: to all the people that have come over from England and Scotland and Japan and other countries and been nothing but supportive of America and America's food and culture. I just want to say thank you for all your videos that you've released in the past week or so. For all of us that live here, it's a tough time because we love living here, but everybody wants to complain about stuff. And we don't do politics on this show, so I'm not getting into that. But it has been a breath of fresh air to see all of you folks fly over here and spend what I can only guess are exorbitant amounts of money just to come over here and be happy that we sell gallons of milk in Walmart and that there is a place called Bucky's with 150 gas pumps and basically a mall inside it. And to see you guys go crazy over our food items at Taco Bell and that you can get food after 9 p.m. And it has been an inspiration this week. It has been positive. You guys have hit me in the feels more than once. And I'm just happy you guys have enjoyed your time here. And I hope you take that back with you and are able to, get with your people and go, we were wrong. One of the videos I watched, the guy's like, I've been lied to my whole life. And as a person that has traveled, it's always crazy when you go in and you say something and somebody either says one of two things. They're like, oh, American. Or they say, oh, you're an American, which technically both of those things mean the exact same thing. Like, oh shit. But then they come over and they absolutely have enjoyed being here. And I hope you take that back and let your people know. And again, thank you guys for all of that. It's been an awesome week to watch. And that it's weird that a town like Boston has run out of beer.
Yeah, well, I've been consuming a lot of reels of people trying Texas barbecue for the first time.
Oh yeah,
which has been fun.
And they lose their minds, dude.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. But All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. Thanks for bearing with us through our busy schedules, and as we've not been able to put out as much content. But thank you all, and yeah, we will see you next week.
Thank you.
I must bid you adieu. Goodbye.